Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick follow-up on my previous video regarding the Chinese and US trade talks. And I wanted to expand on the topic of tariffs. So are tariffs good and do they work? I personally think they do not. Tariffs are part of an economic war which has been going on between the US and China since 2012 at the least. And tariffs are just an escalation of this economic war. Generally, tariffs can turn into a shooting war, but that is near the end of the cycle. So the reason I'm not a fan of tariffs is because they are really attacks on the consumer. It is actually the consumer, not the government, who pays for the tariffs. So when American companies import Chinese products or raw materials, they will pay the extra cost, essentially the tariff, to import these products. Since their costs have now rose, they will pass it on to the consumer by increasing the price of the products. This way, they make the profit back and make up for the tariff that they had to pay in the first place. So it is essentially passed on to the consumer, and it is the consumer who pays for the tariff. So the argument for tariffs is that it will force companies to buy domestically and look for domestic suppliers, and that this will also create and open new opportunities for new businesses to pop up, which can make up for the Chinese supply. It's supposed to be good for American businesses and the economy. However, again, it is the consumer who pays the price. Companies currently buy from China because the costs are much more cheaper. They can make a profit while selling goods for a reasonable price to the consumer. If these companies were to buy domestic, they would again have to raise prices on the product to make a profit, which would again make the consumer pay the price for this opportunity. Of course, in the long term, as companies become more efficient, these costs will fall. But currently, the Chinese have a huge head start, and it would take some time for these costs to decrease. Again, the worrying aspect is that this is all happening in this current environment where living costs are already getting more expensive, taxes are increasing. Again, inflation is a form of taxation because as prices become more expensive, government makes more money through property tax, through the sales tax, etc. And also that people's wages are not increasing as much, and many people are actually in debt and are relying on more debt just to get by. So again, passing the price of the tariff to the consumer in this environment, all it does really is spell trouble and just increases the chance of an eventual social, economic, and political crisis, which we will be facing in the future.